Ryan, I'm dying to know what's on your radar.
Well, later this morning at the Vermont State House, Senator Pat Leahy is holding a press conference, and there's rampant speculation that he'll announce whether he plans to retire in 2022, a move that would set off a scramble for his seat. When Leahy was first elected to the Senate in 1974 in the Watergate wave, he was the first Democrat to win there ever. His run was made more difficult, though, by a third-party candidate who gained real traction. A young Bernie Sanders was perennially the nominee of the Liberty Union Party and had already run multiple times for Senate and governor. Sanders ended up winning just over 4% of the vote, and Leahy won by about 4,000 votes. Sanders would soon retire from politics and devote himself to media. You've probably heard of that educational documentary he made on socialist Eugene Debs.
The little that I am hoping to be, I owe to the socialist movement. It has given me my ideas and ideals, my principles and convictions, and I would not exchange one of them for all of Rockefeller's blood-stained dollars.
Now, of course, Sanders didn't stay retired, becoming the mayor of Burlington in 1981 and then winning election to Congress as an independent in 1990. He and Leahy have had something of an alliance since, as Sanders has danced delicately in and out of the Democratic Party, winning its primaries but continuing to run in the general election as an independent and then caucusing with Democrats when he gets to Congress. In 2006, when the other Vermont Senate seat opened up, Sanders ran for it, won the Democratic primary, then rejected the party line and ran as an independent. The state party voted to unanimously endorse him anyway, and they didn't field a Democrat. Then State Senator Peter Welch ran for the House seat and won the Democratic primary uncontested and won the general election fairly easily. Welch and Sanders have been strong allies since, even though Sanders is well to Welch's left. In 2016, Welch endorsed Sanders for president while Leahy backed Hillary Clinton. That same year, Welch was caught up in a scandal when the Washington Post and 60 Minutes revealed he was one of 3 Democrats who'd pushed for a law that tied the DEA's hands when it came to going after pill mills, fueling the opioid epidemic, which was and is raging in Vermont. It later emerged Welch was trading stocks in companies involved with the legislation, including buying hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Rite Aid stock as the company lobbied for the law. The talk in Vermont now is about Senator Leahy's future. He's up for re-election next year and is 81 years old, and the conventional wisdom is that he plans to announce his retirement this morning. If he does, Peter Welch is widely known to be pining for that seat, and that's where Bernie comes back in. If Sanders endorses Welch, the race is over. If Leahy gets involved, that'd be a huge boon for Welch, too. And I asked Leahy recently what he would do if he retires, whether he'll endorse Welch or let the primary play out, and he said he wasn't ready to say. A Sanders spokesperson declined to comment. I also recently spoke to State Representative Tanya Wachowski because I'd heard she'd been thinking about a run for Senate if Leahy retires. She told me the rumors were true, but said that she won't jump in if Sanders gets behind Welch. Quote, "I don't want to lose any capacity I have in a race that's unwinnable. That is a big piece of this. If Bernie is going to endorse Peter, there's not much point doing it." That's a refreshingly frank analysis of the politics at play. Wachowski broadly shares Sanders' politics and was actually endorsed by him the previous 2 cycles. Meanwhile, Welch and Sanders are much closer personally than they are politically. If Sanders does freeze the field by endorsing Welch, it would come out of personal loyalty rather than as a way to advance his political revolution, since Wachowski is much closer to his politics than Welch is. The question then is whether Sanders and Leahy will allow a real race to play out, or whether they'll just hand the seat to their buddy Pete. And I felt like this was an important thing to highlight because I've been quite critical in the past over the Democratic National Committee or the DCCC or the DSCC jumping into primaries and supporting the moderate over the progressive candidate. We now have a scenario where it's quite likely that Sanders could come in and support the moderate over the progressive, and in fact make sure that no progressives even run.
Right.
Because if Welch gets the endorsement, Welch is already extremely well known throughout Vermont, and he's known as a very nice guy. And in Vermont, there's only 600,000+ people. Everybody knows him.
Right.
Then that just makes it so people like Tanya say, you know what, this is absolutely hopeless.
Yeah.
If he's got Bernie's support, then I'm out. But it would be an ironic way to end a career by kind of just one old guy passing the baton to another old guy endlessly throughout Vermont's history.
You would know this better than I do. I actually think Bernie Sanders is pretty in touch with the moment of Democratic politics. I think he understands that would be not only a reputational disaster, but that it's also not what people are really looking for, is one old guy to hand the baton to another old guy. And so if his personal loyalty is really strong, I mean, it would have to be really strong, I think, to overcome his instincts, which are probably right. Do you think he understands that? I have to imagine he does.
Yes, but I'm not sure how much he cares. And also,
interesting.
A lot of Sanders supporters, to them, because they've felt so kind of pushed into a corner by the establishment, they have an irrational amount of fealty towards anybody who was with them at any point.
That's true.
Like Tulsi Gabbard, for instance. All she had to do was quit the DNC in June, long after Sanders had functionally lost, and say that it was unfair, and Gabbard became an absolute star for Sanders supporters, no matter what she did or said for the next 5 years. Peter Welch very clearly endorsed Bernie Sanders because he wanted Bernie to win,
right,
so that he could be a senator.
Right.
But and also they like each other, like they get along well personally. But the fact that Welch was there for Bernie in 2016, when basically nobody else was, like Keith Ellison, I think might have been the only other one, maybe Raul Grijalva, I can't remember. It makes it so that there's some return loyalty there, and also I don't know how much people are following these races. It's not like Representative Vahosky is like a household name among progressives.
Right.
So they might say, you know what, it's a weird year. The Republican governor in Vermont is extremely popular. He's up for re-election in 2022. He just won by 41 points in 2020. He said he doesn't want to run. No doubt Mitch McConnell will pressure him, beg him to try to get into the race. He says he has no interest in it. People in Vermont would argue, look, this is no time to mess around. Everybody loves Welch. Who cares? He's going to be a reliable Democratic vote. Just do it.
Right. He's tested. You know who he is. He's a known quantity. I can see that. This is actually really interesting, though, because there are a lot of party politics that are like trends in party politics that are mingling in this race that I didn't expect until I was like listening to your radar and saying, wow, this is actually there's a lot of representative struggles playing out in this, in what will be this race.
Right. And the argument for Vermont to elect somebody like Vahosky, a much younger person, would be you're about to lose 70 plus years of seniority.
Yeah.
Once Bernie eventually retires. So Leahy been there since '74. He's the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Senate pro tem. If he ran again and won, he would be the longest serving senator in American history.
Right.
That serving as the appropriations chair means that Vermont gets all sorts of benefits from the position that he's in. If you put Welch in there, who's already, I think, 74, how long is he going to serve?
Right.
So he won't have time to build seniority before he retires.
Right.
And so then you continuously are going to have brand new senators from Vermont, which is a state that's very easy to ignore if your senators don't have seniority.
Yeah, no, and I'm interested to see, and you asked this question, what Leahy will do.
Right.
Because he understands that, of course, but that's a huge question.
Right, because he's very popular still, too. So if both Bernie and Leahy back Welch, then it's done.
It's like the Republican primary in 2024. If Trump gets in, it's done. Nobody else should bother.
Except Tulsi.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking forward to what's on your radar up next.